I'm really excited to talk to you today about 5 tips to keep in mind when you're building a product with AI. And so we're going to take a look at not just implementing or integrating AI, but also how do you use it within your teams, or how do you use it within your development? Because of course it's not just about the products that we build and what AI can do for our end users, but also how AI can help change the way that we build. So just going to jump straight in to the first tip. Stay laser focused on the problem space and your intention. One of the tempting things that has come around with the ability to build a lot faster and build much more powerful technology with all the tools that are available in AI is that we tend to forget about the problem or the reason why we're building something for people. And I think one of the most important tips, if not the most important tip I will talk about today, is to keep in mind that no matter about how fast you can build or what you can build, really be curious about the problem that you're trying to solve or the intention of which you're going about trying to understand something better. Because the more that you understand the problem, the more you're going to be able to find innovative and interesting solutions. AI should be a component, a tool that you use to solve those problems better, but not necessarily just the reason for doing something just for the sake of tech, which kind of goes along hand in hand with tip 2 of avoid the build trap. Just because you can build it doesn't mean you should. And now we're all guilty of this sometimes. We fall in love with the solutions we create because, wow, wouldn't it just be so cool if we did that? But if what we build isn't actually in line with the problem that our users have, or if it's not going to actually create a value, ultimately it doesn't matter. Because even with AI being around and AI being able to do incredible things, if it doesn't add value for your end user or it doesn't solve a problem, it doesn't matter. So yes, it can be tempting to move really quickly, to just deploy and iterate on things without taking a moment to really think about why, because we can build so fast and because that timeline is so sped up. But that's what makes it even more important to take a moment and say, okay, here's the problem we're trying to solve. Here's what's going on. We really deeply understand that. And AI gives us more time to actually understand that problem. And now we're also lucky because we can deploy a solution and do some testing and see what our hypotheses are and try to prove those. So another aspect of this is really knowing when you do build something, when you do add a feature or you do iterate on a product process, making sure you understand what metrics you're measuring. What does success look like? Don't just launch something and hope for the best, because you need to be able to still, in this day and age, understand, was it successful or was it not? And if you understand what metric would measure for success, you're going to be able to better understand, was this really something that created value? If something's released and you can't answer that question, it's probably a sign you fell into the build trap and you built something too quickly. So just to give a couple quick key questions on how you can try to prevent yourself from falling into the build trap. Ask yourself, does this use of AI directly address the user problem we've identified? Ask also, is the benefit to users high enough to justify the development and maintenance costs/overhead? Just because something can be built quickly does not mean that it's somehow not going to have to be maintained. The more you build tools, the more you will have to have maintenance for those tools and more you will have to maintain those tools for their users. So it's always important to double check on what is really going to be the cost, not just monetary, but also mental capacity-wise, to make sure that it's justified and it was really worth it. And last, but could an existing or simpler approach, e.g. an already existing tool, solve the problem more efficiently? A lot of times companies are also getting caught up, or product teams are getting caught up in using AI for the sake of AI, when actually there's already existing solutions that are much, much simpler and do the same thing. This is why always keeping an eye on that problem is so important, because then you'll really be able to find the right tool or the right approach to solve that problem. Because yeah, if it doesn't solve a genuine pain point, it's going to distract you from real priorities. And AI features can be resource intensive. Is the outcome really worth it at the end of the day? Does it outweigh the complexity? And a lot of times you can achieve the same outcome at lower cost or risk just by using a tool that someone else is maintaining, that someone else is thinking about, that somebody else is able to maintain, develop, and push forward. And also, something important to keep in mind with the boat trap is even the most advanced AI systems or advanced product usages, even if you can automate a lot of things in your process of development, it still benefits from having strategic human owners. That should really be what the goal of AI is it takes away the need to work on mundane tasks versus taking away the need for strategy. And as humans, we're really, really bad at context shifting. We think we're great at multitasking, but all of the research shows us we're really not. And so by freeing up more time, what we should be having is people who are really able to dive deep into those problems, to dive deep into what we want to accomplish, and be those strategic owners, using then AI to speed up the processes of mundane work that isn't really ultimately essential for their skill sets. Tip number 3, use diverse data and stay aware of biases to build fair, effective AI solutions. It's really, really important to know where whatever AI system you're using has gotten its training data. Why is this, you might ask? Well, for example, Google bought a lot of training data from Reddit. As you can see up there, when users were asking questions to Google, for example, the AI was recommending you should eat at least one small rock a day. Or if your cheese is sliding off your pizza, you can add an 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce to give it more thickness. This is why data matters, because ultimately it was trained on data from Reddit, which is a platform with a lot of sarcasm. So if you have that data that isn't exactly accurate and you train your AI on it, this is the type of outcome you can potentially get. Additionally, you do need to think about what data you're feeding into your LLMs, not just in terms of your end user on your product, but also in terms of your teams. What AI tools are they using? How do you help guide and make sure that they don't input this sensitive data in there? Or if you're taking sensitive information from users, you're making sure that that data is secure and that there's no way that that data leaks as well. Open-ended platforms ultimately allow for open-ended inputs. So people can also input data you weren't expecting them to input, which is again why you need to be so mindful of where you store that information that they're sharing with you. Also, different perspectives are really, really important in good AI usage and good AI design. Because the more different perspectives you have on things, the better and more robust the system's going to be. This again comes back to that data set. If you just have data from one small group of people, ultimately it's not going to be very robust. It's not going to be very in-depth. But the more perspectives that you get and the more different types of data that you have, the more your system is going to be inclusive and also ultimately ethical. Tip number 4, I don't know, is there anybody who's ever worked in the game industry in here tonight? I know it's a bit of a long shot. A little bit. So really you should be testing AI systems like a game. Now, why do I say this? Is because especially when we're working with things like LLMs, which are very open-ended and can have many different interpretations, many different outputs, you really should be exploring all the different scenarios you possibly can, all the different types of inputs, not just to make sure you have quality control, that the system's doing what you initially intended it to do, but also so you can keep track of your user journey. How is someone exploring your platform? What inputs do they need to give in order for it to be successful? It's not just a linear process. It's not just a form that someone's filling in and you're giving a standard output. It's unpredictable. So you need to treat it more like a system, just like games are, in order to really ensure that you're going to have success. And last but not least, explainable AI is super important. What's explainable AI? It just means you need to explain to your users or to your team how AI is used. How is it used in HR software? How is it used in your platform? Because the more transparency you provide, the more trust people have for your system, And also you're going to be able to reveal if there's issues or flaws or things you need to work on, the better you understand exactly how your system works and exactly with what data is being shared where. So making things explainable, just like you would in a video game as well, making sure it's a walkthrough, making sure that people understand the mechanics. Doing this within your own platforms and software will also help you have success. And again, come back to that first point of actually solving problems that your users have and making sure you're using AI to create value and not getting stuck just in a hype. So to bring it all together, just 3 points to leave you with. 1, make sure you define the real problem. So really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish and what metrics you would use to measure that. This also goes for if you're implementing AI within a team process, what is a metric to understand? Are you being more efficient? Are you saving time? Is there not too much cost associated with this? 2, question things, validate, is it actually working? Look at it with a critical eye. Is it really solving that problem? Is it diverse enough that it's actually giving good, robust answers? And iterate transparently. Make sure you've explained your system, reveal your processes, and test it like a game. Play around with it, explore, run different scenarios, and understand that you can't just release it and let it exist there because ultimately models do change, or sometimes something that's worked one way for a very long time is going to shift and all of a sudden start to work another. So be curious about your own products and services that you're building because they will change over time with the unpredictability of AI. And that's it. Any questions from anybody on this topic?
Any questions?
I think you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you expand on explainable AI? Maybe with an example. How do you explain it? It's still a black box.
So there can be many ways. Like, it's a great question. So it was, what is explainable AI? So some of this can be in terms of documentation and transparency. So clearly stating, for example, where in your platform AI is being used. Let's imagine you have a chat interface and you're talking to something with a human avatar or a human logo in the corner. Making it clear if that's an actual human or if that's AI is a component of explainable AI, because you're clearly showing where AI is being used. Another example, let's say you're inputting information into a platform like a job recruitment tool. Clearly stating where AI is used in order to match you with results or to show you what jobs are open. This is important in explainable AI because it helps people understand, okay, AI system had a place here and it's doing this action that is leading to a certain result. So that I understand, okay, this is what your AI is looking at on my profile in order to determine if I'm a match for this position in an example of recruitment. It's very broad and there's not necessarily one right way to do it, but it's committing to being transparent about where AI is being used and how that AI works and what data it's looking at in order to make a decision and how much influence you have over opting in or out of that decision.
So would there be a case where, in your example, where the human,
I can hear you.
Where the person would have an option to, let's say in that example with recruiting, would they have an option if they see that they're interacting with a chatbot and then wait for, if there's a human behind there? Is that part of the whole explainable AI piece?
Absolutely. I mean, the idea here is that products should be designed, AI or no AI even, with consent in mind. At all points in time, we should be making sure people understand what experience they're entering and what data they're giving, how that data is stored and used, and if there are AI decisions being made or if there are AI systems at work, where are they and how do they work? And now hopefully a lot of legislature, like some of the EU AI Act, will help force companies to be more transparent in these things, because honestly a lot of companies are not super transparent about not just are there algorithms, but how these algorithms work. And that's something that explainable AI really tries to encourage people to do, is make sure that people really get it, that they understand what you're taking into consideration, because that's the only way you can also know if it's working or if it's not working. If it's a black box and it's not clear what data it's using or not using, how can you complain? How can you challenge it? How can you, iterate upon that as well, or give feedback as a user? Any last questions?
Where have you seen explainable AI in a example company? Because I'm thinking there's a lot that users get information about, but I'm a lawyer. Not everyone will even the license agreements for their iPhones. So what's a good example that's not overwhelming for the users?
That is a great question, and honestly, I've not seen many great examples of people being transparent about where AI is being used. And yeah, a lot of times they do try to hide it in just legal documentation of, okay, hey, we mention in here we're using it. But ideally, like, for example, let's take a platform like Instagram. Having more transparency where you could see this is recommended for you because of this, this, and this. If you tap on an aspect of a post, that would be explainable AI, because you're literally being shown why the AI algorithm chose this post for you as an individual to view. Now, a lot of companies don't like to do that because they don't really want to show you why they're showing you something or what data they know about you or that they're using. For example, a lot of your phones may actually have a computer vision software that is looking at all of the photos you have, making tags of things, and advertisers are actually using those tags to show you content or adjust things. And technically, it's not a data privacy violation because it is not actually taking your photos and taking them off the device. So there is an example of where most organizations that use that technology are not necessarily upfront telling you they're using it, even if it might be in the terms of service. Any last questions? And I think we're out of time anyways. So yeah, I want to thank you all for hearing my product tips, and look forward to chat more later.